Our plan was never to become millionaires off the backs of agents.
We have a very lead by example type of mentality.
You didn't rely on Realtor.com.
Our sales numbers are on the board with everyone else's.
I want a lion's den.
So I had the pleasure of sitting down with James Duffer and Yvonne Souza of Rise Real Estate Consultants. We had some real great conversations, some real in-depthness about how James and I met and how Yvonne and I met. Also, really looking at how they've grown their business organically. They are taking the basics back into real estate. Their office, their energy, second to none. And I think you're gonna love it. Today we're with James Duffer and Yvonne Souza with Rise Real Estate Consultants. We've been partnering and doing business, I'd say for the last 5 years or so. I mean, James, how long have you had your license now? Just about
17, yeah.
17 years?
No.
Since 2017. And Yvonne?
15.
2015, yeah. So I met Yvonne before James, back in the Keller Williams days.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I can take us back through both of our meetings, but I think it kind of all comes together in about 2018 or 19. Yeah, it all came together when you guys started partnering up. So James and I met through a gentleman, his name was Guy Glennon, a guy named Guy, where James and I share a very similar background. We were both correctional officers at the DOC, so that Guy thought it would be a great idea, and he was also a veteran-owned or a veteran-based broker, and he also thought it would be a great idea that James and I would meet because of our backgrounds and our skill sets. And he's like, you have to meet this guy, James, you know, he's going to be an up-and-comer. He has it. He's going to know. He knows exactly what he's doing. So we had that first meeting, and you know, you think you had your license maybe like a week or two.
Yeah, it was definitely under a month.
Yeah, it was definitely under a month. And while times have changed, you know, all of this time. So James is also a veteran of the military, and we're going to get into that a little bit about his background and what he does best and how he got into real estate. And then Yvonne and I met probably a little bit before that. Yeah. You were working with Keller Williams. You had a small little office up in Smithfield or North Smithfield? North Smithfield line. Yeah. And I was at another law firm at the time. And we'll go back into that because it's kind of funny. We lost track. I couldn't get her back. So when I opened up Balkun Title in 2016, not everybody made the transition with Danny B. You know, it was one of those things where like, oh, I'm comfortable where I'm at, you know, and unfortunately, Yvonne was one of them. You know, she was comfortable where we were already started doing business, and she stayed there for a little while, and it drove me nuts. I'm not gonna lie. It drove me absolutely nuts that I was like, come on, here it is. We got our own thing, you know, And she actually didn't talk to me for a while. She blew me off, wouldn't return my phone calls.
Sorry, Dean.
Yeah, now that we're there, you know, I can bring it all out on camera because you can't lie to the camera. Oh, well, you could. So as James and I started working together, and then Yvonne and I were working together, one of the relationships didn't work for a little while, and then voila, a couple of years later, James and Yvonne meet at a networking event, right? And I think is that how you guys kind of met at down in Blue?
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, YPN?
YPN event.
That was Bo's.
Yeah, Bo's Billiards.
Bo's Billiards. Imagine that, of all places.
Classy place. Classy place and by classy women.
Yeah, classy. So we found Bo's Billiards used to be the old Boston Billiards in Warwick. So, you know, as we started, they started talking business and shop. I believe it was a little time after that we had all gotten together. We were down at Blue.
Yes.
And that's when we made the plan to get you, Yvonne. James and I, he's like, are you doing any
business with it? That was a sneak attack.
Yeah, it was. It was a total sneak attack. We were talking about how, you know, Yvonne and I used to do business together. And, you know, I haven't been able to get her to come back over to Balkun Title. And he's like, we have a plan. You know, we did kind of scheme behind the scenes. And
James' style.
You know, yeah, James, that's right. Stealth. He's very stealth. You know, for a big guy, he's very stealth. You know, and very persuasive. You know, so yeah. So that came about. A couple of months after that, you know, we sat down and we got our likeness back together. James helped bridge that gap, which was fantastic. So when did you guys actually partner up? I know it wasn't Rise Real Estate Consultants right away, but tell us a little bit about how you got started together in your partnership.
Yeah, so RU New England started in October 2019. We actually were in East Greenwich at the time.
Yep, I remember the office there.
Yeah, we were RU New England, letter R, letter U New England. We were right on Main Street. We had another partner, Justin Mandisi.
Yep, we know Justin. Yep.
Love you, Justin.
Yeah, we love Mandisi. Absolutely.
it was one of those times where like we were growing. We had the three of us that I don't want to say we disagreed. We didn't disagree. We just had
I think you guys had all different skill sets.
we had a
different
lot of
styles.
we had a lot of different
Styles.
skill sets, a lot of different styles. We wanted, Yvonne and I really wanted to grow into a brokerage. She wanted to be a broker. She wanted to be a managing broker. I just want to conquer and provide, provide the highest quality service that we can to our clients, and we were in line with that. We ended up splitting up. RU New England.
Yeah.
Yvonne and I assumed that. We took some of the agents with us. Some went other ways, but that's what happens when you grow.
Yeah.
You kind of have to reshuffle the deck a little bit and figure out what's working, what's not working,
Yeah.
and make the cuts where you have to in order to be that.
Have your vision.
Well,
in
yeah,
place
not
too.
just have the vision come to light, but to get that final product that you want.
Yeah.
And
And you guys have been working on that for a while.
We have, yeah. We moved to downtown Providence at the end of, actually during COVID.
Yeah.
During,
Yeah.
December
Well,
2020.
we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
You guys actually bought this beautiful office and suite condominium in about 2 years ago,
Yeah.
right around Christmas. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, it's definitely more of our speed. We like being downtown. It's a little bit faster, centrally located for clients, which is nice.
Yep.
It works well. It's definitely more of. It feels like home.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a very homey feel.
Yeah.
So James, tell us a little bit. I talked a little bit about how corrections officer, but let's go back a little bit. Obviously you're a U.S. veteran. So tell us a little about what you've accomplished and the things that you've done in your career before real estate.
Yeah, I think if I was going to paraphrase that, you learn a lot of hard lessons real young. I guess is an easy way to paraphrase that. You learn a lot of hard lessons young. You're able to apply those lessons that you learn. I mean, I always tell people I've probably failed more than most my age.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I've done well is because I get back up.
Yeah.
I get back up and I.
So what branch of the military were
you
you in? So for people that
Yeah,
are listening,
I was in the Army. I was an infantryman.
infantry,
And did
and
a couple tours.
a few tours,
Yep,
right?
Did a couple tours.
Iraq,
Yeah, Iraq and Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Sure.
We got out of that, got into corrections.
Yep.
Needed some health insurance. Had my daughter really young, and same thing with that. A lot of.
What class? What class number? Do you remember?
I want to say 76.
Okay. I was class
I think it
63.
76, yeah.
Yeah.
But corrections was great. It was a great learning environment. Learned a lot of hard lessons there as well.
Yeah, we both did.
But I think I took a lot of that, a lot of like the communication skills that you learn.
Yeah.
You have to learn in that environment how to talk to people. You
Yeah.
have to learn how to, get people who are in a
Easier
hard
to
spot.
communicate with the inmates or the officers?
It's different.
I say that in a funny way.
It's different for both. But you have to understand that whether it's a fellow officer or it's an inmate, and if they're in a bad spot, if they're on guard, if you will,
Yeah.
you gotta figure out how to talk to them effectively to get done what you need to.
Right.
Yeah.
And Yvonne, so tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your background before real estate. I think you were into mortgages a little bit and
Yes.
kind of like a couple
So
of different.
I was in corporate banking, which is, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I was in corporate banking since graduating college, so did that for just almost 10 years. Got into mortgages. I worked at Semper Home Loans in their business development department.
Yep.
And while I was at Semper Home Loans, I got my real estate license because anytime you're in corporate America, there's a ceiling. And ceilings don't work for me. So,
Yeah.
and I knew I wanted to work for myself at some point. So I got into real estate, and about a year and a half in, I decided I was going to do it full time. It was all or nothing.
Yeah.
So
And that was in 2015,
so I went full time in 2017.
2017.
Yeah, and I've never.
And you were
gone
already
back.
growing a team at that point
I
because when
was.
we first met, I think you actually had Nick with you right off the.
Yeah.
How long? Nick been with you like from the beginning almost?
Yeah, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
About 3 years once I
Yeah.
started my team.
Yeah. That was. I know he's been around a while, so
Poor guy.
he's like the steady guy here.
Poor guy.
Poor Nick. Yeah. And then you guys obviously meet at Bo's Billiards in this networking event. And how did that that work? Like, what conversations were you both having to say, you know what, let's try this together? Like, how can we do this together?
So I want to say it was easier for James than it was for me. I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
So I was not at first willing to kind of give up any of what I had.
Yeah, that's always hard.
I'm always
yeah.
willing to help someone, but I didn't want to give up what I had.
Sure.
So it did take a lot of coercing, I'll say. But he kind of brought the
That
vision.
was part of our plan, by the way.
Yeah,
We'll
I
talk
believe
about
it.
this, yeah.
But he kind of brought a vision to, that made sense.
Yeah.
So it was a vision of, you don't really have to do it on your own. We did have a lot of commonalities in how we want to run our business, grow our business. So
I
at some
think you
point,
have a very similar mindset together. Like, there's no ceiling, right?
Right.
I don't think there's a ceiling for either one of you, and I think that's why it continues to grow and rise.
right. And we both always knew that, our plan was never to become millionaires off the backs of agents, but it was to use our real estate experience and knowledge to grow in other avenues and in other industries.
Yeah.
Grow a portfolio and things like that.
And I think James was very lucky in his own sense working with a guy named Guy.
Yeah.
Guy was very disciplined when it came to real estate, and I think that taught you right off the bat, that this is the way it needs to go. And I'm sure you still use some of those teachings.
I knew getting into this that you have to have process, you have to have execution. Guy really drove that home. Like, this isn't just a theory. This is
reality.
This is something that really has to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, in the capacity that we work, you're ideally, I don't want to say you're messing with somebody's life, but you have a very large transaction, very large financial transaction. You have people's safety and security, ideally, as far as their home's concerned, in the palm of your hand. And I can see in this industry pretty often that a lot of people just don't understand that.
I was just about to say, like, as you were just saying that, that's exactly what calculated in my half brain that I have left, was that, most people don't look at it from that perspective. They're just like, how many transactions can I get? How much money can I make? Right. How quickly can I get to the next one? And they kind of bypass the whole process of why you're doing it or why we're helping people. And that leads me into, why Rise? Why the name Rise? How did we come up with Rise? Is that a James thing or was that an Yvonne?
No, that was a lock ourselves in a conference room until we figured out what we were going to name our brokerage thing.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
No, inward facing, we don't put it out there to the public, but inward facing is Rhode Island sales experts. We want the agents to.
Rhode Island sales. Okay.
We want the agents to have that.
I didn't even realize that's what it meant.
Yeah, well,
I thought it had to do with military and veteran-owned, and we'll get into the little bit of that in our.
I mean, it's inward facing. It stands for Rhode Island sales experts. We want our agents to have that mentality the same as we do. If you're here, the product that we're pushing out is consistent excellence. Our slogan that we adopted is luxury isn't a price point, it's a level of service. We don't care if your house property is $100 or $100 million. It doesn't matter to us. It's your typically largest financial transaction of your life. Right. I mean, some people maybe it's not, but most people it is, especially here in Rhode Island. And we want to treat it as such and provide that level of attention to detail and excellence that you would expect. Yeah. And we don't leave anything to chance.
And I believe you guys are very detailed. Everything that you do is attention to detail. I mean, from the way that you guys have an office, to the way that you dress, to the way that you promote, to the agents that you train. I think it's a really, it's not something that you just, try to do. I think it's a lifestyle for you.
Yeah, everybody has their way of doing things. Sure. I'm not saying that ours is right, wrong, or indifferent. We just know that it works. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people want to be that expert. They want to be sure of what they're saying, and they want their clients to feel that confidence that they feel, and that's what we foster in this environment.
Obviously work with a bunch of different agents and agencies, and one of the things that's very impressive is your layout here. Not only from the brokerage standpoint, but you guys have really taken this and made it like its own little city. Between conference rooms and direct mail with the studios, we have a podcast room that you guys are doing. So tell us how you plan on using that to not only attract new agents, but to grow your business, because it's working. And in a down, as we consider it, feeling like it's a down market with, interest rates creeping and, and housing values and just a lot of uncertainty, how do you plan on taking Rise to that next level?
So when we started looking for spaces, we knew we wanted it to be a place where people wanted to come in every day.
Yeah.
I've gone to a ton of brokerages to drop stuff off, tour them,
Yeah.
and you walk in and it's almost depressing. It's dark. Sometimes it's stingy.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but there's just no life when you walk in. And we
Yeah.
wanted it to be a place that felt like you were in downtown Providence.
Yep.
We're in the city. It's hustle. It's bustle. It's clean. It's modern. It's a place you're proud to bring your clients, your investors, your $1 million, seller, buyer.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be a place where anyone felt comfortable, but they were proud to be here. We hold a lot of our agents very accountable to showing up. So to show up, you want to go to a place that makes you want to show up, right?
It's kind of like a cool place.
It's cool.
Yeah.
We have a fun environment. We have an aggressive culture here. We have fun with it, and we wanted to make sure that we're evolving with the industry. And to do that, you need the space.
Yeah, sure.
You need the space. You need the amenities. So in order to attract the agents that we want and work with the clients that we're looking for, we wanted to make sure that we had the space to accommodate it.
Yeah, and you've done a fantastic job at that. So why media? Why green rooms? Why direct mail? Like why those things to grow the brokerage in this day and age?
Yeah, I mean, it's more, I guess, operationally for us, it's more about hitting people on multiple fronts in terms of, I think I see you everywhere. I see you guys in my mail. I see you guys here. I see you there. I see you, I open my phone. I see you on Instagram. I see you on TikTok, Facebook, whatever platform you're using, we're there. It's not that we're doing anything proprietary, it's just consistency. I think that's the biggest issue, at least in our market here with our business, is that not everybody is consistent. I'd actually say the minority of people are consistent, and we've done our...
With being inconsistent?
They're consistently inconsistent. Consistently inconsistent. So we want to take that out of it. We want to be there every day. We want people to see us. We want to be known experts in the field.
And we want to be a resource.
Yeah, and a resource. We want to deliver value on any front that we can. We want to make sure that people are confident when they work with us. Agents are confident when they work with us. We're able to take agents from right out of the pre-licensing course. Maybe an agent's been in the business for a couple of years. They haven't really done as much as they thought they would. They haven't been as successful as they thought they could have been. And we'll take them in if they have interest. We'll show them what the expectation is. We'll put them in the bullpen. Yvonne and I are in there every day. We have a very lead by example type of mentality.
You do.
We want to show proof of concept that, hey, this is something that you can do. We can teach it to you.
Right.
We will teach it to you. I think a lot of it has to do with just dealing with osmosis. You're going to learn different things every day. You're going to hear the phone calls. Yeah. You're going to hear the troubleshooting. You'll probably hear me freak out a little bit once in a while.
Sure.
But it's good.
Because real estate isn't always just
it's
butterflies and rainbows.
Yeah, butterflies and unicorns.
You got to understand how to manage all those different types of personalities out there, and deliver what's best for your client. So we take that. We want people to grow. We have a ton of different individual offices. Once an agent gets to that point where maybe they don't need direct oversight, they want to be their own single agent, they can do that. Maybe they want to start a team. There's space to do that. Right. Go for it. And we're not building this brokerage on the back of our agents.
Right.
Yvonne and I have dumped almost everything back into this because we believe in it that strongly.
Yeah. I do believe that, when people start to see, we're doing video and we're doing other things. You talk about TikToks and marketing, and they get your mailers. They haven't been shown how to do that sitting in other brokerages, right? Because as we know, as we had a great conversation earlier this month, brokerages are in getting agents. They're not really into selling homes, So the brokerages want agents to make money off the agents, where your model is completely different than that, right? Because agents are great, but that's not how you build a brokerage, right? You have to teach, you have to show, you have to let them grow.
Yeah, I mean, agents are great until they don't know what they're doing in their liability to your brand or your process.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of times in this industry, no one wants to share their information. No broker wants to show up and actually grind. No one wants to actually explain what a PNS means because there's just not time. Everybody's busy doing other things. Everyone wants to hoard their information because my agent can't be better than me. But the reality is, if my agent gets to a point where they outgrow me and they open their own brokerage, I did my job exactly as expected. Right. I held up my end of the bargain.
Yeah.
And
that's
there's no fear
that's the handshake, right? When they come
exactly.
here, it's like, we're going to help you help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want great agents because at the end of the day, if you were to go somewhere else, I know that when I meet you on the field, I'm working with a competent agent.
Right.
So that's fantastic.
Competency is something that's very tough.
Lost trait.
It's a lost trait.
Lost skill.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. A lot of the video and the education that I've been training either mortgage professionals or real estate professionals, I'm taking the word agent, like real estate agent, out of it, and I'm taking mortgage broker out of it, like mortgage advisor or real estate advisor. And obviously you guys are following that, not because of me, because, I listen to more of what you say than you think. Sure. But why real estate advisors, not agents? Like, why go that path?
So we landed on consultants in that term specifically because an agent, I guess the term agent in my head is very transactional. You hire an agent to get a job done that you need done right now.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. A consultant can provide value at any level. Maybe it's, hey, Dan, I'm thinking about selling my house maybe 2 years from now. I'm not sure. I don't really know. What do you think? A consultant's going to come in and they're going to go, well, we think that your property, if you were to sell it today in this market, you'd land around here. Mm-hmm. Process would look like this. What other questions did you have? Right. Oh, well, I'm thinking about maybe doing a couple updates. Like, I'm not sure if it'll make sense. Well, sure, as a consultant, I can sit down with you and go, well, the current return on investment for the thing that you're thinking about doing could potentially look like this, but I don't think you're going to get the money you're expecting back. The property needs X, Y, and Z to be sold in a certain condition. You may be looking at an 80% ROI versus, I think you thought you were going to get 150%, which just doesn't make sense.
Right.
There's really no upgrade you're going to do to a property that's going to land you that. So just education, understanding, listening to people, and not talking to people and having conversations just to talk and respond, but to actually hear them, hear what their wants and concerns are, and then address them accordingly. That's what a consultant's going to do.
I found myself over the years being that person as well, because we talk about the 5,000 short sales and all of those numbers, that the trainings. I realized when people were like coming and consulting and like they were losing their homes, like they had no idea, because they were only taught, buy your house, this is your asset, you pass this along, this is generational wealth. And that's not really how it in theory, it sounds great. So what they did was they charged up credit cards, they took their kids, education money away, they've taken their 401k and depleted it. They then had to file bankruptcy, and still at the end of the day, they weren't consulted correctly. Yep. Even those bankruptcies that they went through, like, oh, just bankrupt it and just clear it all out and you start over.
Yeah.
And it's just not that easy. So I understand the consulting part, because information and actually giving people a real path to go down. So I understand that part of it, because it's part of everything that I do and talk about with people, even when I'm educating realtors or agents or advisors. Or, I'm trying to get them to understand that the market that may be coming today or tomorrow or in the spring or next fall is going to be a lot more consulting than it is agent.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're doing here, though, and we want our agents to be that level, to provide that value, and you can't do that with a brokerage that has order takers. None of our agents here are order takers. I want them to be three-dimensional, spherical beings that can roll in any
Swiss Army knife.
You can roll in any environment. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the market goes this way or if it comes back towards me.
Yeah.
We're still providing value. We're still helping people. We're still getting the job done. Right. We're not this two-dimensional piece of paper that can't move anywhere.
Right.
If the market doesn't fall within this square box, then I can't help you.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's going to be great. I think that, as people are starting to, they're going to, see this video and they're going to see our interview, I really think it's going to open up a lot of people's eyes and ears on exactly what you guys offer here. And I feel like it's like almost like the best unkept secret that people, as we start to see transition, you're starting to see agents, kind of look over the curtain now, because they're at one brokerage and they're looking to see like, how can my business model turn into something maybe a little bit different. The last 3 or 4 years, I've used that theory that even the dog walker sold 15 houses. Well, that market is now transitioned and changed.
Yeah.
And, where I see your brokerage transitioning and changing is that you're doing some of the basics of the basic too. Like, what I mean? You're not just relying on Zillow. You didn't rely on Realtor.com. You're not relying on all of these pay-to-play real estate ventures that now people are going, well, what do I do now that Zillow's not here to help me? You know, and you guys have done a tremendous job transitioning. You know, I feel like I'm part of that, of course, but you know, because we have these in-depth conversations, it just didn't start today. You know, we've built our relationship, you know, over the course of X amount of years, and we've rode some of that stuff too, right? I mean, we all obviously, when it was time to everybody to jump in, you did. But as it started to retract, and then the you know, the cost of the investment wasn't working, started changing the whole platform. And I see the newer agents that have gotten licensed, some of, you know, people that came from completely different aspects of life. You know, we've got people that worked at the hospital. We have correctional officers here. We have police officers here.
We have veterans.
We have veterans here. So, you know, if you're looking at this, you know, there's proof and concept, right? That we can change and that we can put our best foot moving forward. And we have an opportunity to grow in a down market. And I think that's one of the greatest things that you guys offer here. So, you know, as we look at the landscape of Rhode Island brokerages, you know, there's big brokerages like, you know, balloons and colors and all of those other things. But, you know, where do you guys see Rise fitting in? Like, where do you, you know, want your, you know, mark in the real estate industry in Rhode Island? Because you guys do a lot of different things, but like, you know, I know you're active in the field. You're also the brokers. You're also the trainers. Like, so where does James and Yvonne or Rise fit into that?
So I guess we're not your average real estate brokerage. You know, we do things a little bit different. You know, like James mentioned earlier, him and I have our main desks in the bullpen with the agents. We find that it's super important to lead by example. And I think for a lot of agents, it
And lead by
creates...
example, what does that mean? Are you making phone calls on a daily basis? Are you prospecting on a daily basis?
So, you know, we're all doing calling hours together. We are all, you know, giving each other feedback. We're listening to some of our calls on, you know, playback, and we're all critiquing and giving, you know, this is what we could have done different. Nope, you did that really well. Oh, I like that piece. I'm going to use it for my next call. They hear us problem solve in the office. So if an agent has an issue, great news. Your broker's in the office. Like, she's actually at her desk. Unless I'm at a showing, because I do still actively sell, you know, I'm going to be at the desk and you can come and ask me a question. We're going to problem solve it together. I'm going to explain the why behind something. And, you know, if it's an issue that James or I have never encountered, we're going to figure it out. We'll figure it out together as a team.
I understand that part of it.
A lot of times we don't even call ourselves a brokerage. We call ourselves a team. So people were like, oh, you're still a team? And it's like, well, yes.
We all work together on a daily basis.
We're like a little family. You know, we feel like a small family. We're a team. And that's how we treat each other. So it's a very different dynamic than you would see in some brokerages, because the broker and the owners are still in the field. They're still grinding. Our sales numbers are on the board with everyone else's. We're no better or no different. We're going to problem solve with you. We're going to call with you. We're going to prospect with you. And we all hold ourselves accountable. So our agents hold us accountable to our numbers, just like we hold them accountable to theirs. And I think that's important, not just in the culture that we have, but in the respect that we have for each other.
I think that's important.
I wouldn't call it like survival of the fittest. You know, we want a brokerage, and you know, the analogy that I give to people is like, I want a lion's den. You know, lions want to be around lions. They don't want to be led by sheep. They don't want to associate with sheep. They want to be around other lions. And that's that culture that we foster here. You know, and I want my guys to go out there and provide such level of service that they find other lions out there that may be underserved or may be feeling down because they're hanging around the wrong people. You know, you gotta be in an environment, if you want to succeed, where people are helping each other out. You know, you're doing it because it's the right thing to do.
I feel like that's a little of our corrections in military background, right? We used to call it OJT, on the job training. You know, like you have to be able to get on the job, because you can learn everything you want in a manual. And you can learn everything at the academy that you really want. But until you get dropped into the situation, and the bullpen being kind of like dropped into that situation, you know, I'm sure like when you were going through basic training and then you get dropped into Iraq, it's a complete. There's no comparison to Fort Bragg or wherever you were, you know, in basic training.
No, it's not.
And so, you know, I see a lot of the new material that you guys are putting out. So you do a weekly filming of a city, right? You guys go around. So how did that concept come up?
Yeah, so we have a few different series that we do, but the one that you're talking about is our city guides. So we do, because we're veteran owned and operated, we do actually help with a lot of veterans that are relocating to our state or even relocating out of our state.
Yeah.
And with that, we've noticed that there are some people that are in Utah that can't possibly travel to Rhode Island with their military schedule, but they're going to be stationed here in 2 months. They need a house. They need to know where they want to live.
Sure.
So James and I, we started racking our brain, like, how do we show these clients without just FaceTiming all the time and driving the entire state of Rhode Island? How do we show some of these clients exactly what our state's about and what makes it so special and important?
Yeah.
And we're like, well, first we got to break it down by city and town, because we all know. If you're from Gloucester, you don't want to hear that you're from Foster. They don't, even though they all go, Foster, Gloucester. If you're from Warwick, you don't want to hear that you're from West Warwick. Like, it's all, everyone's so nichey and specific in Rhode Island.
It is, and
every town
in its own way.
Every town is so different.
Yeah. It is. That's true.
So we
and
just,
such a small demographic. What are we, like 40 by 40 or?
It takes like an hour to get across the state.
Get across the state, right?
So, we came up with the idea to start, well, what if we just created a video for every single town?
Yeah.
And with that, we're like, well, while we're there, we might as well highlight some of the small businesses that make that town so special.
Perfect. Yeah.
And that kind of
helps the community. It helps
the community. It makes the community realize that they do genuinely care for us. We've made phenomenal relationships doing it.
Yeah.
And then it broke it down. It helped us break down into a new series, and I'll let James explain. So it all just kind of came full circle, and I don't know.
A spin-off.
It's
What
spin-off.
are we talking about?
Businesses on the Rise. We'll go back. So we had a spin-off, but it helped. It was nice because now we created a website that had all these cities on it, and when a client wants to know, hey, where should I live?
Yeah.
They tell us what they're looking for. We send them a list of cities and towns we think could work for their family best based on what they're looking to do. But we send them the entire website, and we say, here, watch them. They're all about a couple minutes long, and you can figure out exactly what towns speak to you, what towns have exactly what you need, which ones are a little bit more family-friendly than others.
Well, what type of feel are you looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you looking for coastal? Are you looking for woodsy?
Suburban? Are you looking to be out in the middle of the woods with no neighbors? But I digress. I find that Rhode Islanders in general, even New Englanders in general, they don't know what they like. They don't know what they want. They're just it's almost like it's passed down from generation to generation. Well, my grandpa had a bad time in Providence once back in the 40s, so I don't go I don't go there. Well, my mom got in a car accident in West Warwick, so we don't go there.
I know.
You listen to these things sometimes, and we're laughing about it, but it's real.
Yeah.
It's
and
real.
some people don't want to leave. Like if they were born in Woonsocket, they want to live in Woonsocket.
They don't want to leave their bubble. But I feel like a lot of people are leaving so many incredible experiences on the table because they don't want to break out of that bubble. So this has been breaking down those barriers, showing people what's really out there, showing Rhode Island for what it really is. And it is a beautiful state. It really is. But being able to see it firsthand, being able to go into these businesses that are smaller businesses, some are up and coming, some are very well established. But again, a lot of people in different demographics are missing out on these incredible experiences with these businesses, restaurants, anything of the sort that they're just like, they don't know about, and they don't want to know about it. So now that we're putting it out there, we're helping these businesses reach new clients. We're getting to see what's really going on there, because I thought I was pretty well cultured for an Islander, but I didn't know that some of these places even existed. And I look back
these
at myself.
Little towns and
I look back at myself. Even Yvonne looks
villages
back on,
inside of the towns, inside of the city.
And we've missed a lot of it. We've missed a lot of it.
Yeah, that's great. So how do you guys build your business model around your partners? Like, what do you look for in partners when it comes to, title and closing, lenders, home inspectors? Like, how did you guys, how do you figure that out? A lot of people struggle with finding good partners to help their business. And James and I have gone back and forth a little bit about this, like, don't just call me for a cup of coffee, right? That's one of those things. But, how do you guys now, maybe from when you first started as opposed to where you are now?
So how we pick our partners. Hold on. I just had it in my head now.
That's okay.
Want me to go?
No, I'm going to start. So a lot of it has to do with, we have to have a very similar business mindset. So if we're going to grind all day, if we have an issue and we call our partner, we want to know you're grinding just as hard. We want to have partners that
you don't want them on the golf course or,
Well, if you are on the golf course, have your laptop and pick up the phone. I'm not asking for a lot. Or at least pick up the phone. We want partners with integrity. We want partners we know we can trust with our clients, because the reality is when we're referring a partner to our client, we're putting all of that trust in someone else's hands.
Yep.
And we can't control that part of the process.
Yeah.
So we need to know that, you're taking care of our little client baby just as much as we are.
Well, you had to procure it, right? I mean, you know how long it takes to get a client. I mean, James and I were just kind of in the war room looking at his board. And, there's a list of names. There's probably 25 names there that you are constantly having to work. Like, Dan, they decided that they didn't want to buy before Christmas. They're going to look in the first week of January. Or this one just didn't like the interest rates right now. Or this one, didn't like Barville, and now they want to go to Gloucester. Like, and there's this whole prospecting part of it. So, like, when you finally do get that baby, like Yvonne's talking about, like, passing it off is almost more important than the time spent getting it. Because
I would never say we're never passing a client off to anybody. We're gonna refer them to our partners.
Referral,
and
yes.
our partners, in our eyes, need to be at or above our expectation of service.
Yeah.
So if they don't have process in place to answer their calls and get them, I guess move that ball forward down the field to finish it up.
Just started laughing about one of our first transactions too.
But you know what I mean, right?
Yes.
You got to move that ball forward. Like we can only, as the realtor, boots on the ground. There's only so far we can technically get that ball. So we need the LO to be working just as hard as us to move that ball forward. We need the closing company or the closing attorney to move that ball to the finish line and get it there as well. There's only so much we can do.
Yeah.
And if we're dealing with partners that maybe fed us a crock of shit and they don't have that level of expectation involved, then
just give me a deal, right? Just give me a deal.
We don't.
Those are always
those
fun.
aren't.
Those
Those,
are
how are we going to build business together? If we're not sitting down and going, well, hey, 2023 is coming up. What are we going to do to build together? Hey, I think that there's a really underserved community right here. How are we going to help them and leverage those opportunities to get people what they want, whether it's buying or selling or anything of the sort, building an investment portfolio. Don't come to us with a handout. Don't come up to us looking for change in the form of clients. I detest that.
Yeah, I know it is. I know that's one of your pet peeves. It really is. So I guess lastly, I ask, and I usually ask a very straightforward question because it's interesting to me to hear it, and it's also important for me to hear it also because of my following. Why Dan Balkun? Like, why Balkun Title? Like, why have we been in a great relationship and been confidants and so why for 5 or 6 or 7 years? Why has that been good for you?
So for me personally, it's first and foremost level of service. You are always on top of your files. You could have 200 clients that you're working, but if there's something you need, you're immediately on the phone. You're trying to fix it. You're boots on the ground, just like we are. Which I think is super important because you are connected to your business. There are a ton of closing companies, title attorneys that are very disconnected from their business. They have no idea what's going on, and if you call them, they couldn't be bothered.
Right.
Where I know that if I'm calling you about something, you're either picking up the phone or you're calling me back within a few minutes, and you are fixing the problem or getting answers at least. And that's, I think, super important. You're also someone that I can genuinely call as a friend and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this with a business. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
And you'll be honest. You'll be like, guys, terrible idea. Abort. Abort mission. Yeah. It's a terrible idea. Or you'll say, like when you saw this space, we had seen one prior to this, if you recall, and you were like, are you guys out of your mind?
Yeah.
And then we saw this one, you were like, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect fit.
Yeah.
So you were honest with us during that journey when we were looking for a space. You were honest with us when we were thinking about joining forces. So I think that's important, is your level of service is, exactly what we're looking for in a partner, and you're always open and honest with us, which is important to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with everything that she said. I think it's, at least for me, it's confidence in that things are going to get done regardless of how tumultuous or easy they may be. Right. I have seen it where things don't go as to plans, and people just go,
figure it out.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
Not my problem.
Yeah.
And I've never had that experience, with Balkun Title. I even if things do go south, and sometimes they do, it's more about
we're not perfect, obviously.
No,
sit here and think that everything goes perfect.
And I'm not trying. What I'm trying to say is not every deal goes as planned. And it's what we do to correct it and make it right that I find more valuable than anything. Because it's not, you're not always going to hit a home run. Sometimes you're going to hit a single, sometimes it's going to be ugly. We're barely going to get across that home base. But we're going to get there, and the client, at the end of the day, you're working with me to make sure that client had an exceptional experience. And they're satisfied and happy.
And I'm going to turn this around and tell you why I like working with both of you. One, because you were really hard to get back.
You were my first closing, too.
I know. I'm like, gosh. But I like the fact that you're growing as people, as individuals, as the brokerage. You know, I love to take experiences that I've had and share them with you guys because you get it. Like you go, you know what, Dan, let's try that. You know, you're not afraid to say, you know, let's try something. You know, and if it fails, then hey, we failed at it. You know, but I think that our partnership's a lot different than others because we've grown together. You know, at the same time that you guys kind of got together and stepped out, I also stepped out and opened up Balkun Title. And you've been some of my best supporters since day one. And I want you to know that I appreciate that. And like, I want to continue to help grow, you know, Rise Real Estate Consultants along with Balkun Title together. And so that, you know, if we do this 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 15 years from now, God, I better be retired by then. But, you know, we pass it on. And whether it's, you know, to our kids may get into real estate, who knows, you know, but also to the brokerage itself. I do appreciate our partnerships very much.
Thank you.
And, you know, all the best success. And 23 is going to be different, but I think we're going to tackle it together, and you're going to see Rise Real Estate Consultants continue to grow, not only just in real estate transactions, but I think in community and in service.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. James and Yvonne, what a great interview. By far, two of the hardest working individuals in the business. When you walk into their brokerage, you feel like you're part of something. I think that they have a really good handle on what it's going to take to thrive, survive, and grow your business in not only 2023, but years to come.